Boy Meets Girl is one of the greatest bands to come out of the 80s. Despite their relatively short time in the spotlight, their influence deserves recognition. When I was 18 years old, I remember listening to a dance track on the bus home from school called In My Arms by Mylo. It was so catchy and it had these dreamy synths that kind of float along the top of the repeated sample. But it was the sample that really stuck with me. And it was many years later when I actually listened to the original song, Waiting for a Star to Fall by Boy Meets Girl. There was something about that song that really hooked me in. Boy Meets Girl is an 80s pop duo made up of George Miller and Shannon Rubicam, who met when they were both performing at a wedding in 1975. A few years later, Shannon auditioned for George's band and the two hit it off. They ended up having a kid together and recording and releasing a self-titled album. But it never really went huge. It never really took off. And then towards the end of 1984, they had the opportunity to write 2 songs for a pretty new artist on the scene. And then on her follow-up album, Whitney, and so after tasting success by writing for Whitney Houston, among other artists, they did write for a few others as well, they smashed onto the charts with their own hit album called Real Life. The song Waiting for a Star to Fall, which featured in a few other remix songs too, it's off the album Real Life, which is an amazing piece of pop history. So many songs on that album could easily have been hits on their own. The thing that really makes this album work though, is the fact that it tells a story on so many levels. With a good TV series, you have to have each episode tell a story, building tension and releasing it. But you also need to have a season-long story arc, one that essentially does the same thing, raising the stakes and resolving. And that's what this album does. Right from Bring Down the Moon, which is the first track, it beautifully introduces the themes of romance and love and relationships, to If You Run, which describes the introspection that often accompanies inevitable problems in a relationship. And then towards the end of the album, the track Restless Dreamer, which to me at least is a piece about accepting the imperfection in your partner. Even though all these songs bar one were written by both of them, it's clear when you listen to the album that Shannon obviously took the lead on some and George on others. In fact, one song, No Apologies, actually caused a bit of a rift in their relationship because it brought up some buried emotions, which are best expressed by Shannon's lyrics.
I want to break free with no apologies.
The whole album plays like a season of a good TV show. But what really makes Boy Meets Girl an amazing pop duo is the people behind the band. Because a great TV show, it's not just about having a great season, it's about having interesting characters that keep being interesting as the seasons progress. George and Shannon had a unique relationship in that they communicated their emotional needs and desires through their music, and that's why the music, Real Life in particular, is so heartfelt and enjoyable. Because it feels like this is the only way that they could express themselves to each other honestly. But as you can imagine, a relationship where music is your primary communication tool, it's probably not going to last. They got divorced in 2000, and when I learnt this fact, I was a little sad. Because they had such an incredible synergistic songwriting talent. But then I learnt that to this day, despite their breakup, they continue to write together musically. There's just something wonderful about that. And maybe it's me romanticizing, but I like to think that they found this incredible connection through music, but then when real life started to happen, things began to fall apart. Even though they can't get it together enough to sustain a marriage or their relationship, they can still connect through their original love, music.